Three, two, one.
We talked about it last week, and they did not disappoint. Those motherfuckers.
Yeah, so they didn't go the way I thought it would. Yeah, no. Well, we'll start with the one that you wanted to talk about, like free speech, was that they said it was fine for...
because of third party.
Yeah.
It was okay. Like, the jargon that came out of it didn't really make sense to me. But
they found like what Biden was doing was legal, but what the states were doing was illegal.
Correct.
Right? Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
So apparently, yeah, on the federal level, you can pinpoint. Is it raining?
Yeah.
Okay.
It happened last week too.
Yeah,
it's
I know. Yeah.
Amazing. They should put rain in the name. Right. So does that mean they kicked it back to those states? Do they get to do that again, or is like that's it? This is what we say.
I mean, that should be the. Yeah, I don't remember reading anything about how that got kicked back to a lower court. So
yeah, neither. That's what I was asking.
So I think that's final. So I think it's, and there's probably something like as you said, it's very specific in the wording, particularly for the one for the executive department of
Correct.
saying you can only in cases that are dealing, let's say, with like federal elections or something like that.
Yeah, terrorism.
Which makes sense. So
credible threat. Yeah,
yeah,
those sort of things. Almost like threatening the president of the United States with a coup.
But where
if
you had
lose the election,
and it was like Texas and Florida.
So that was going to be my.
And they're trying to be
do
like.
Do they really listen to SCOTUS at this point anyway?
No, not really. But
right.
And theirs had to be something frivolous, like
I'm sure
we don't want them criticizing our us trying to ban CRT or whatever else.
You cannot criticize me personally online.
Yeah, that's what it would have ended up as, I think.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what it would. You can't talk shit about. You know what? If that were to go into effect, all I would do was I would make a ghost account, and I would talk so much shit to all of them.
You'd be banned from your first post, and then once you got back on, you'd be banned from the next one.
Fuck that. I will do it. Actually, at this point, Twitter is a fucking cesspool. You can do whatever the fuck you want on that.
I know.
It's bad.
Yeah. Like
really bad.
Yeah.
Really bad. I've got it whittled down to like just news.
Yeah, but even then,
But even then, there's just shit popping up. Never mind. Moving on. They should, if they're going to do anything, they should just 80s nuke fucking Twitter.
Yeah.
Because it's bad. Go ahead.
It is.
Go on. So, yeah, great. That's a win for us.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a win for anybody, but okay, that makes sense.
Sure, yeah.
Now, Chevron, and what was the one today? The gas station or some shit?
No. Today was...
Truck stop?
Today was presidential immunity.
But what was the other? There was another one.
Well, so...
Federal agencies is where I want to go.
Yeah. No, so it's not... The term that they use is Chevron deference.
I know.
Chevron
is how I remember.
I know, yeah, but it doesn't have anything to do with the gas.
Chevron.
Yeah.
Right. No, I knew that.
But the basic, do you need me to go over every bit of it?
No, I knew. They're
yeah.
The gist of it is they're limiting federal agencies in their overreach. I don't know what word they used or how they worded it exactly.
Well, so the old way is that federal agencies, because they were staffed.
OSHA.
That would have been one of them. Yeah, so they're staffed with people who are supposed to be well versed in the areas that they cover.
You mean experts?
Right.
That go to school and shit.
So they would have been allowed to interpret a congressional law, meaning this is why congressional law a lot of times is very vague, because they just go, oh, well, they'll figure it out and know exactly what to do. So there's one gigantic problem that occurs from the Supreme Court's decision, is that it's not only limiting the government agencies, but essentially what they said is that if any agency is unclear on how to execute,
right,
then it has to go to the Supreme Court to make the final decision. So
that's not how?
Right.
Okay.
So I mean,
So they look at each one on an individual basis.
So the initial complaints, as I'm hearing and reading about it, the first thing that kind of scared me about it was that so the heads of all the federal agencies are appointed.
Correct.
Typically, whenever there's a new president. So if the leader of that federal agency, so say you have a Republican appointee and there's a Democratic Congress, all they have to go is like, this is unclear. And instead of it going, so they essentially can veto a law, even though they're not the president. And then instead of it going back to Congress to go, okay, well, let's rewrite it.
It just goes back to
the
Supreme Court, and they can just be like,
So this is going to add workload to the Supreme Court, which there's already a backlog of cases anyway.
So the next step in that is we'll just get rid of the agencies.
Yeah, or I don't see it at that as because I think this, along with what we got today, is painting a broader picture of.
Like, isn't this? Go ahead.
But
won't it limit these agencies and what they can do? They're basically going to have to raise their hand and ask permission at this point.
Yeah, and then instead of asking Congress for permission, they're going to have to go to the Supreme Court, which the Supreme Court is not, unless it's a legal issue. Those people
what
aren't
are they
experts
doing
in
with,
anything else.
Yeah.
So then those hearings are going to take twice as long because you got to call in the experts. And then you're right. Yeah, it would probably lead into, again, this being the idea behind Project 2025 is
Correct.
that then you cut out. I mean, literally, it would be federal agencies would be the appointee, and then like whatever immediate staff they need to go. I don't know what's going on, and then it goes to the Supreme Court.
Correct. That's what I mean by, like, they're not going to get rid of them completely, but they will kneecap them.
Yeah.
So bad and put someone, like you said, in to where they just went.
But overall,
why does the never mind. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say.
So they just made a ruling only to say that we're going to rule on this some more in the future.
Well, really, what they're taking power away from is they're taking power away from Congress. In that, even if Congress passes a law, they're going, we got to double check that. So, when you talk about precedent, if it comes, something else opens up another avenue to where the Supreme Court goes, well, it's not going to be up to those people to determine. Like, so, for example, if it was something to where it's a law concerning all states, right?
Right.
And they could use this as precedent to go, well, if one state goes, well, we aren't sure what they're talking about, then, well, don't worry, the Supreme Court will step in and we will just go ahead and take, we'll take care of it. Because they've been so good at fixing things recently. And then that goes into...
Why are we letting them? Because we're in a
Well,
people are quick to file suit, so the Supreme Court's running shit at this point.
And they figured out, it's not necessarily a loophole. They're gaming the system.
Right, exactly.
And that's where, like, today, with their decision, giving it a decision, but then kicking it down to lower courts, which is a little bizarre, but that's not unfounded.
I didn't know if that was like something that happens all the time. I thought it was either like we can't do this. It seems this. We're just going to go back down. They need to decide.
Well, so the decision was that,
or twist it to fit in this box.
Is that the president is immune from any actions that are within this realm and scope of being president,
an official act,
right,
or whatever.
So what they're kicking to the lower courts is defining what official acts would be.
So we're allowing states to decide this now.
No. This would be the lower federal court.
Okay,
yeah.
All right, good.
But that's going to take a lot more. That's going to take increased amount of time.
Where does that go?
It should go to whatever No, it goes back to the original trial judge. So whatever the originating circuit was.
Oh, really? It goes all the way to the original.
Yeah, it just jumps over the appeals court and goes
straight to the
yeah.
Okay, all right, the first decision.
Because they have to hold hearings and bring up people so that they can then, essentially codify what is an official action versus a non-official action.
That could take years.
Right, exactly. So
they're
everybody wanting this to be put into place.
Acts that a president
to put Trump into jail, it's not going to happen.
No.
But this is also a bigger the reason I lump it in with the Chevron deference thing is that if Congress is saying, well, the president is, if they really don't get this solved, or if something new comes up that's not within what they have said is like these are official actions, then and Congress says like, well, the president is operating outside of their official capacity, therefore, we and say, and
could you imagine?
And they bring charges after that. Now, I mean, essentially, the Supreme Court has set it up to where no, you've got to come to us first.
Right. Again.
So I'm sorry, I got it backwards. The first one, they're limiting the executive department and saying that your agency is no longer, they have to go through us.
And now she's doing.
And now the Supreme Court's doing that so if Congress has anything to do with a sitting president, an issue with the sitting president or a former president, they got to go. Essentially, they'd have to go through the Supreme Court to clarify.
So technically, Biden could have Trump picked up on charges that he's a threat to democracy.
Yeah.
And thrown in prison via executive order.
Right.
That's an official act. He deems this human being a threat to national security.
Correct.
That's official.
Yeah.
That is an official fucking act. I'm putting you in prison.
Yeah,
indefinite.
Puts him out in Guantanamo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
But then
in perpetuity, sit there, motherfucker.
Yeah, and then if his lawyers bring up the case, then it has to go back to the Supreme Court for them to judge whether the action that the
and Trump's in Guantanamo Bay this entire time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although
I mean, he could make an
president could too. I mean, if he's designated as a terrorist, could then have him judged under a military tribunal,
and we could hang him in the streets.
Yeah, or just
public execution.
I don't know if that's in the bylaws of the military, but
who cares? Throw him away.
I mean, he's not.
But what?
He's not Mussolini, so
fuck who he is. And this could be anything. I'm just hypothetical Trump or not. Anybody's a threat to democracy. So under what they said, official act, like all of that could happen. I mean, sans the hanging in the public streets.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, you could have.
And now I know Congress would fucking lose its shit.
Well, I mean, let's play into what a lot of people's nightmares are: is that Trump wins, and then through the Justice Department declares Democrats as a terrorist organization in the United States and gets them to verify it and do all that, and then they use the military to round up Democrats and throw them in jail.
And illegals.
Yeah.
And everybody who's not a white
Christian
nationalist.
That's, I mean, by the time we get there,
they'll put us with the homeless.
If you are homeless, and then if you're homeless, and they'll probably expand that out to like if you have outstanding debt and can't seem to pay it off within a shortened time frame,
we'll be
then
North Korea.
Yeah, we'll have debtors prisons, and then that'll keep extending until it's the ruling class as
it'll be North Korea,
which is sad too, because that means 90% of MAGA is going to be thrown into jail too. So
isn't that what we as a nation were
trying to avoid? Yeah,
right. We sailed across the ocean on giant boats, not knowing what was up, and because they didn't